I can't believe how much my life has changed since I met you.
It was meant to be. I'm so happy we found each other.
I came home early to surprise my girlfriend with roses and her favorite chocolate. Instead, I found her in our bed with someone else. But that's not even the craziest part. Her best friend, the one who had no idea what was going on. She changed my life in ways I never expected. This is the story of how the worst betrayal led me to the love of my life. My name is James, and 2 years ago I thought I had everything figured out. A beautiful girlfriend, a decent flat in Manchester, good job, loyal friends. But sometimes the life you think you're living is just a carefully crafted lie. And when that lie falls apart, you realize you were never actually living at all. You were just existing in someone else's fantasy. This is my story. So let me take you back to where it all began. March 2023. I met Sarah at a pub in Manchester city centre. It was one of those typical Friday nights, where me and my mates decided to grab a few pints. After work, the place was packed, proper buzzing with energy, and I was just trying to get to the bar, when I literally bumped into her. Spilled half my pint down my shirt. Brilliant first impression, right? But here's the thing, she laughed. Not a polite laugh, but a genuine, throw your head back kind of laugh that made her whole face light up. She had these incredible, green eyes that sparkled under the pub lights and this smile that could make you forget your own name. She insisted on buying me a replacement pint, and we ended up talking for hours. My mates eventually left without me and I didn't even notice. We talked about everything that night. Our childhood dreams, our favorite films, the places we wanted to travel. She told me she worked in marketing for a fashion company in town. She was ambitious, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. By the end of the night, I had her number and a date planned for the following weekend. Those first few months were absolutely magical. She was everything I thought I wanted. We'd spend weekends exploring different parts of Manchester and Liverpool, trying new restaurants, going to football matches. She met my family, and they loved her. My mom kept dropping hints about marriage and grandkids, which was embarrassing, but also kind of nice because it meant she approved. Sarah had this best friend, called Emily. They'd been friends since university, practically inseparable. Emily was quieter than Sarah, more reserved, but she had this warmth about her. She was a primary school teacher, with a genuine passion for helping kids. The three of us would sometimes hang out together, go for Sunday roasts, or catch a film. Emily was always kind to me, always asked how I was doing, remembered little details about my life. About 6 months into the relationship, Sarah suggested I move into her flat. It was bigger than mine, closer to the city center, and honestly, we were spending every night together anyway. It made sense. My mates joked that I was whipped, but I didn't care. I was in love, or at least I thought I was. Living together was great at first. We fell into this comfortable routine. I'd make breakfast while she got ready for work. We'd text throughout the day, send each other silly memes and inside jokes. Evenings were spent cooking together, watching Netflix, just being a normal couple. On weekends, we'd sleep in late, make elaborate breakfasts, maybe go for a walk in Heaton Park. But then, slowly, things started to change. It was subtle at first. She'd get texts late at night, and her face would do this weird thing, like a flash of panic before she'd casually turn her phone face down. When I'd ask who it was, she'd say it was just work stuff, or Emily having some drama. Fair enough, I thought. Everyone's entitled to their privacy. She started working late more often. 2, 3 times a week, she'd text saying she had to stay at the office for some urgent project or client meeting. I'd offer to bring her dinner, but she always said no. Said she'd just grab something quick near the office. On weekends, she'd sometimes say she needed to meet Emily for brunch or shopping. Girl time, you know. I never questioned it. Why would I? I trusted her completely. Around the 1-year mark, I started thinking seriously about proposing. I'd been saving up for a ring. Something classic but special. Something that suited her perfectly. I even talked to my mom about it, showed her the ring I was considering. She cried happy tears, and told me she couldn't wait to welcome Sarah officially into the family. But there were these moments, these tiny red flags that I kept brushing aside. Once, we ran into one of her colleagues at Tesco, and the woman seemed surprised that Sarah had a boyfriend. She said something like, "Oh, I didn't know you were seeing anyone," which seemed odd for someone who supposedly knew Sarah from work. Sarah laughed it off. Said the woman was new, and they barely talked. Another time, I borrowed Sarah's laptop because mine was updating, and I needed to check something for work. When I opened it, her Facebook was logged in, and I couldn't help but notice she had her relationship status hidden. When I asked her about it later, she got defensive. Said she didn't like broadcasting her personal life online. Said it was nobody's business. I let it go because I didn't want to seem controlling or insecure. Her phone became like this extension of her body. She took it everywhere, even to the bathroom. The screen was always tilted away from me. If I walked into the room while she was texting, she'd quickly switch apps, or lock the screen. When I mentioned it once, she accused me of being paranoid, and we had our first proper row about it. I apologized because I didn't want to lose her over something stupid like trust issues. Emily seemed to notice the tension between us. A few times when the three of us hung out, she'd give Sarah these questioning looks, like she was trying to figure out what was going on. Once, Emily pulled me aside at a pub and asked if everything was okay with Sarah and me. I assured her everything was fine, just normal relationship stuff. She looked like she wanted to say more, but Sarah called her over, and the moment passed. Then came the business trip. Sarah told me her company was sending her to London for a week-long conference about digital marketing trends. It was supposedly a big deal, important for her career. She seemed excited about it, showed me the conference schedule on her phone, talked about the networking opportunities. I helped her pack, drove her to the train station, kissed her goodbye and told her I'd miss her. The flat felt empty without her. I worked longer hours that week, hit the gym more, caught up with mates I hadn't seen in a while. We texted throughout each day, but she said the conference sessions were intense, and she was usually exhausted by evening. Made sense. I didn't push it. On Thursday of that week, I had a rubbish day at work. My boss had a go at me for something that wasn't even my fault. My car had issues, and I just generally felt like everything was going wrong. I texted Sarah about it, but she didn't reply for hours. When she finally did, it was just a quick "sorry babe, been in sessions all day. That sucks. Love you X." That night, I was scrolling through Instagram, mindlessly looking at nothing in particular, when I saw a story post from one of Sarah's colleagues. It was a group photo from some office birthday celebration. And there, clear as day, was Sarah, in Manchester, at their office. The post was time-stamped 3 hours ago. My heart literally stopped. I stared at that photo for what felt like hours, but was probably just a few minutes. There had to be an explanation, right? Maybe the photo was old, and the colleague just posted it late. But no, there were balloons in the background with "Happy 30th birthday Claire" written on them, and I knew Claire's birthday was that exact day because Sarah had mentioned it last week. I felt sick. Physically sick. Like someone had punched me in the stomach, and all the air left my body. My hands were shaking as I screenshotted the photo. I didn't know what to do with this information. Do I call her? Confront her? Wait until she comes home? I decided to wait. I needed to think clearly. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe the conference got cancelled and she came back early and wanted to surprise me. Maybe she decided to pop into the office before coming home. There had to be a logical reason. But deep down, I already knew. All those late nights, all those secret texts, all those times her story didn't quite add up. It all made horrible, perfect sense now. Friday morning came. Sarah texted me good morning from London asking how I was doing. I replied normally, didn't let on that I knew anything. I called in sick to work because there was no way I could concentrate. I spent the day sitting in that flat, looking at all our photos together, wondering which parts of our relationship were real and which were just performances. I thought about confronting her over text, but that felt wrong. I needed to see her face when I asked her. I needed to look into those green eyes that I'd fallen for and see if they'd tell me the truth. Saturday came. Sarah was supposed to be coming home that afternoon. She texted me from the train, sent me a selfie with the caption, "Can't wait to see you babe," and I felt this wave of anger wash over me. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she smile at the camera, knowing what she was doing? I didn't pick her up from the station like I usually would have. I told her I was running errands, and she should just Uber home. When I heard her key in the door, my heart was racing. She walked in with her suitcase, all smiles, came over to hug and kiss me like nothing was wrong. I let her settle in first, asked about her trip. She launched into this elaborate story about the conference, the speakers, the networking events. She was so convincing. If I didn't know better, I would have believed every word. Then I showed her the screenshot. The color drained from her face instantly. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She tried to take my phone, tried to see the image closer, tried to do anything but answer the obvious question hanging in the air. Where were you really this week, Sarah? She sat down on the sofa, her hands shaking. For a moment I thought she might actually tell me the truth. But instead, she tried to gaslight me. Said the photo must be old, said her colleague must have posted it late, said it was probably from weeks ago. I showed her the times, showed her the birthday balloons, showed her the date stamp on the Instagram story. She crumbled then. Started crying, saying it wasn't what I thought, saying she could explain. I waited. I sat there in silence, and waited for her to explain how she'd spent a week lying to my face. The truth came out in pieces, like pulling teeth. There was no conference. She'd been staying with someone else. A guy she'd met through work about 8 months ago. They'd been seeing each other for nearly the entire time we'd been living together. All those late nights at the office. All those weekend brunches with Emily. Half of them were lies. She'd been living a double life. I asked if Emily knew. Sarah swore that Emily had no idea, that she'd been lying to her best friend too. For some reason, that made it worse. She wasn't just lying to me. She was lying to everyone. I asked the question I wasn't sure I wanted the answer to. Do you love him? She couldn't even look at me. I don't know. I'm confused. I love you too. I never meant for this to happen. That's when I told her to get out. I didn't yell, didn't throw things, didn't cause a scene. I just calmly told her to pack her things and leave. She begged me not to do this, said we could work through it. Said she'd end things with him right now. Said she chose me. But how do you choose someone after lying to them for 8 months? How do you choose someone when you're only doing it because you got caught? She left that night, packed 2 suitcases with whatever she could grab quickly and left. Said she'd come back for the rest of her stuff later. I watched her walk out the door, and felt absolutely nothing. I think I was in shock. The next few days were a blur. I called in sick to work again. Didn't eat properly. Didn't sleep. Just lay in that flat surrounded by reminders of a relationship that never really existed. My mates tried to get me out of the house, but I wasn't ready to face the world yet. On Tuesday, there was a knock at the door. I assumed it was Sarah coming back for more of her things. But when I opened it, Emily was standing there with a bag of groceries and a bottle of whiskey. I just found out, she said quietly. Can I come in? I let her in. We sat in the kitchen and she told me everything. Apparently, Sarah had called her after she left, tried to spin some story about how we'd grown apart and mutually decided to end things. But Emily isn't stupid. She'd suspected something was off for months, noticed the lies and inconsistencies. When she pressed Sarah for the real story, Sarah broke down and admitted everything. Emily was furious. Not at me, at Sarah. She kept apologizing like it was somehow her fault that her best friend was a liar. She said she felt horrible. Said she should have said something sooner when she noticed Sarah acting strange. I told her it wasn't her responsibility to police her friend's relationship. We talked for hours that night. She listened to the whole story, every detail, every lie, every moment I'd ignored my instincts. She didn't judge me for being blind to it. She didn't tell me I should have known. She just listened. Before she left, she hugged me. It was just a friendly hug, a gesture of support. But there was something about it that made me feel less alone for the first time in days. Emily started checking in on me regularly after that. She'd text in the mornings asking if I needed anything from the shops. She'd drop by after work with takeaway, making sure I was eating. She'd drag me out for walks, saying we both needed fresh air and exercise. She never made it weird or pitying. She was just there, being a friend, when I desperately needed one. Sarah kept trying to contact me. Calls, texts, emails, showing up at the flat. She wanted to talk, wanted another chance, wanted to explain. Emily was actually the one who told her to back off, told her she'd done enough damage. It was weird having my ex-girlfriend's best friend defend me against her. But Emily said what Sarah did was unforgivable. And she wasn't going to pretend otherwise, just because. They'd been friends for years. About a month after the breakup, Emily and I were having dinner at a small Italian restaurant in the northern quarter. It had become our routine, grabbing food once or twice a week. She was telling me about one of her students who'd finally learned to read after struggling all year, and her face just lit up talking about it. She was so passionate, so genuinely happy about this kid's progress, and I realized I was enjoying her company, not just as a distraction from my pain, but genuinely enjoying being around her. She made me laugh. She listened when I needed to vent. She called me out when I was being self-destructive. She was kind and patient, and real in a way I hadn't experienced before. I didn't say anything that night. It felt too soon, too complicated. Emily was Sarah's best friend. Was I really considering this? But the feelings didn't go away. If anything, they got stronger. Every time we hung out, every conversation we had, I found myself noticing things about her I'd never paid attention to before. The way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when she was thinking. The little crinkle by her eyes when she smiled. How she always ordered the same thing at our favorite cafe but pretended to consider the menu every time. 2 months after the breakup, we were walking through Heaton Park on a Saturday afternoon. It was one of those perfect autumn days, crisp air, leaves changing colors, blue sky. We were talking about nothing in particular, when she suddenly stopped walking. "I need to tell you something," she said, looking nervous. My heart started racing. Was she going to tell me she couldn't hang out anymore? That it was too weird being friends with her best friend's ex? "I've ended my friendship with Sarah," she said. "She called me yesterday, and I told her I couldn't be friends with someone who could do what she did. To you, to that other guy, to everyone. She made her choices, and I'm making mine." I didn't know what to say. Emily and Sarah had been friends for nearly a decade. "That's not something you just throw away. You didn't have to do that," I managed to say. "Yes, I did," she said firmly. "Because you're my friend now. And more importantly, because I can't be friends with someone whose values are so different from mine." She lied and cheated and showed no real remorse. That's not who I want in my life. We stood there in the park, leaves crunching under our feet, and I knew I had to tell her, even if it ruined everything, even if she didn't feel the same way. I had to be honest. "Emily, I need to tell you something too." She looked at me, those warm brown eyes full of concern. "I think I'm falling for you. I know it's complicated and messy, and probably a terrible idea. I know you were Sarah's friend first, and this probably breaks every friendship code that exists. But these past 2 months with you have been the best part of my day, every day. You make me laugh when I thought I'd forgotten how. You make me want to be better, and I just needed you to know, even if it means we can't be friends anymore." The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Emily just stared at me, expression unreadable. Then she smiled, that beautiful, genuine smile I'd come to love. "You absolute idiot," she said, laughing. "I've been waiting for you to say something for weeks." And then she kissed me. Right there in Heaton Park with families walking by and dogs running around in autumn leaves, falling like confetti. She kissed me and everything else just disappeared. We took things slow after that. Neither of us wanted to rush into something serious while I was still processing the betrayal. Emily insisted we go on proper dates, get to know each other outside the context of my breakup and her former friendship. So we did. Cinema dates, restaurant dates, day trips to the Peak District, weekend getaways to York and Edinburgh. Every date felt like uncovering a new layer of someone I thought I already knew. I learned that she cried at basically every film, even the ones that weren't meant to be sad. That she had a ridiculous collection of novelty mugs from every place she'd ever visited. That she sang off-key in the car and didn't care who heard. That she left notes in the books she read. Little comments and thoughts in the margins. 6 months after our first kiss, I told her I loved her. We were cooking dinner together in my flat, dancing around each other in the small kitchen, and it just came out. Natural and easy and true. She stopped stirring the pasta sauce, turned to look at me with tears in her eyes, and said I love you too. I think I have for a while. That was nearly a year ago now. Last month, I asked Emily to move in with me. Actually, I asked her to move into a new place with me, because the old flat had too many memories of Sarah. We found a gorgeous 2-bedroom place in Didsbury with big windows and a little garden. It feels like home in a way the old flat never did. We're planning a trip to Italy next summer. Emily's always wanted to see Rome and Florence, experience the art and history and food. I can't wait to see her face when she tries real Italian gelato for the first time. Sometimes, I think about how none of this would have happened if Sarah hadn't cheated. If she'd been faithful, I'd probably have proposed to her by now. I'd be married to someone who lied to me for 8 months. Someone who didn't respect me enough to be honest. I'd be living a life based on deception. She stopped stirring the pasta sauce, turned to look at me with tears in her eyes, and said, "I love you too." I think I have for a while. That was nearly a year ago now. Last month, I asked Emily to move in with me. Actually, I asked her to move into a new place with me, because the old flat had too many memories of Sarah. We found a gorgeous 2-bedroom place in Didsbury with big windows and a little garden. It feels like home in a way the old flat never did. We're planning a trip to Italy next summer. Emily's always wanted to see Rome and Florence, experience the art and history and food. I can't wait to see her face when she tries real Italian gelato for the first time. Sometimes, I think about how none of this would have happened if Sarah hadn't cheated. If she'd been faithful, I'd probably have proposed to her by now. I'd be married to someone who lied to me for 8 months. Someone who didn't respect me enough to be honest. I'd be living a life based on deception. Instead, I'm with someone who values honesty above everything. Someone who chose integrity over a decade-long friendship. Someone who sees me, really sees me, and loves what she sees. Don't get me wrong, the betrayal still hurt. It probably always will, at least a little bit. Trust isn't easy after something like that. But Emily's patient with my moments of insecurity. When I get in my head about things, she talks me through it. She's never made me feel bad for needing reassurance. Sarah reached out a few months ago through a mutual friend. Said she wanted to apologize properly, wanted closure. Emily left it up to me whether to respond. I thought about it for a while and eventually sent a brief message, saying I'd moved on, and wished her well. But I didn't need or want to meet up. That chapter of my life is closed. The funny thing about betrayal is that it teaches you what real love looks like by showing you what it isn't. Real love doesn't require lies. It doesn't hide. It doesn't make you question your reality. Real love is coming home to someone who's excited to see you. It's laughing over burnt dinner, and dancing in the kitchen, and planning a future you both want. Real love is what I have with Emily, and I wouldn't change a single thing about how we got here. So that's my story. The worst thing that ever happened to me led me to the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes life has to break you down completely before it can build you back up into who you're meant to be. If you're going through something similar right now, know that it gets better. Not immediately, and not easily, but it does get better. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not just when it's convenient. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me about your experiences. Have you ever had something terrible turn into something beautiful? Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, the right person will never make you question your worth. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.